Just over 4 years ago, the United States SEC filed its lawsuit against Ripple. I'm finally able to announce that this case has ended. It's over. Sitting here today and reflecting on 4 years ago, it seems very clear to me that this case was doomed from the start. In so many ways, it was the first major shot fired in the war on crypto. I truly felt like I knew then that Ripple was not only on the right side of the law, but I felt that we were also going to be proven to be on the right side of history.
It really, I think, sends an ominous sign for innovation around cryptocurrency in the United States. Picking winners in general has not been something the U.S. government should be in the business of doing. I think the judge realizes this is not just about Ripple. This will have broader implications. As Mary Jo White, the former head of the SEC, has said publicly that she views this as a dead wrong, and the SEC is dead wrong on this decision.
Ripple is the first company with the resources, determination, and grit to fight back against the agency's overreach. And today, this journey finally concludes. Today is a victory and a long overdue surrender by the SEC. The SEC, under Chairman Gary Gensler, went after the whole industry, using the same arguments they used against us. They weren't out to protect investors. They were out to intimidate and terrorize. The regulator, whose primary purpose is to protect investors, went all in on a non-fraud, victimless lawsuit and wiped out $15 billion of value from innocent XRP holders. The SEC was the market manipulator. The SEC wasn't seeking justice. They were seeking to win a case at any cost. Forces inside our government aligned with the SEC and embarked on a campaign of debanking anyone associated with the crypto industry. This was lawfare, a war of legal terror. Fortunately, the judge rebuked the SEC multiple times in this journey. First, for lacking a, quote, faithful allegiance to the law. The SEC was sanctioned in our case for discovery abuses, and the pattern was repeated in other crypto cases.
Well, let's just say they're trying to confuse you.
We won then on every critical legal point, proving that the digital asset XRP is not a security. That is now the law, and those wins have laid the groundwork for policymakers to adopt a set of rules for crypto that are in line with nearly a century of securities law. With today's news, the war on crypto has ended in defeat for those who turned our own government against a technology and an entire industry. I'm heartened that we have paved the way for other industry players to see the value in not backing down, and for others to use our legal playbook to fight back. We are now closing a chapter in crypto history. I think we are all stronger for our prior litigation successes and today's landmark victory. Progress is worth fighting for. We won multiple pro-crypto victories at the ballot box last year. It's time to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. Thankfully, we have new leadership in the executive and legislative branches of our government. That leadership is actively seeking a rational and constructive way forward on crypto. Let's make the most of this. This is an incredibly promising moment. Let's come together. Let's leave the tribalism behind. Let me make it clear that my main message, what Ripple's main message today is about gratitude. It's gratitude to everyone who stood by us, to every Ripple employee, to the incredible legal team here at Ripple, led by the best chief legal officer in the business, Stu Alderodi. Gratitude certainly to the XRP family, to our customers, to our partners. Thank you. We couldn't have won this battle without all of you being behind us and working together. I truly believe we all agree there's immense opportunity with the largest economy in the world finally taking a pro-crypto and pro-innovation approach to build this technology in order to solve real-world problems for people around the planet. This was a fight Ripple never wanted, but one we knew we had to win. And today, emphatically, we have. Thank you.
Good evening, Warriors. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news-related channel. And today is a very special episode for several reasons, Mario. Now, I started off today by talking about how Trump had just signed a brand new executive order allowing crypto and other private assets to access and purchase digital assets in their 401ks. We're going to expand on that a little bit later on. And I also showed our listeners this morning that officially Ripple had acquired a $200 million stablecoin payment company in Rails, which does over 10% of all the B2B stablecoin-based payments today. So those major amendments are nothing in comparison to what we just got when it comes to the announcement. The SEC versus Ripple case is officially over. And this is the document that was just filed by the SEC, already has nearly 1 million views, and the document was released less than 1 hour ago. Breaking news, both the SEC and Ripple have filed a joint dismissal of the appeals case. It's official. The case is over. Appellate Brad Garlinghouse and Christian Larson, as well as jointly stipulate the dismissal of this case. And as you guys can see, here are the signatures. Here's the joint agreement. And that's it, Mario. We can put a stamp on this and move forward. The SEC versus Ripple case is officially in the history books, guys. And I want to give a big shout out to Gary Cardone. Gary Cardone quote tweeted my tweet and said, congratulations to the XRP and Ripple team, right? What I think is so interesting about that is, first of all, what we're going to see in these next 6 months is the largest capitulation ever from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana investors. And I think we did a great job highlighting this during yesterday's episode, Mario, where you broke down that even Ethereum, it's an inflationary asset. There is 3 million more Ethereum that have been produced since they switched to that staking mechanism back in 2023. And we're only going to continue trending in that direction when it comes to Solana, Ethereum. But Bitcoin and XRP are in a class of their own as finite assets, creating the future here inside the US. Live chat, if you're excited and you enjoy this content, we already got 5,800 people here. Show us some love. Smash that like button. I want to give a special shout out to Chris moving forward. He said, thanks for all your work. Greetings from Norway. Shout out to you, Chris, and we appreciate you. Thank you massively for the donation. But Mario, really quickly, the price responded very positively to this news. We are looking at the 1 hour candles. We're going to go to the 5-minute candles just to show you how much things have changed. Less than an hour ago, or an hour and a half, I should say, XRP was trading at about $3.10. We are now trading just above $3.26 on the price charts. We peaked out as high as about 331 here, and I think Gonzo pointed it out in chat to us. 331 is going to be a key level of resistance for the XRP price chart. If we pass 331, we're heading up to 370, and once we get daily closures above 370, it is off to the races for the XRP community, guys. So massive headlines, huge updates. Just want to give a huge thank you to anybody who's watching and enjoying this content. Let us know some of your thoughts in chat, but I'd like to see some ones if you're excited. Ones in chat if you are finally ready to never speak about this again. Twos if you're excited for today's episode. That's what I'll say. There should be ones and twos in chat, hopefully. But Mario, what's your initial reaction? The Ripple case is over and XRP trading at 326.
It is awesome. But first of all, good evening, Warriors. I knew there was a reason why I sort of missed I definitely missed Good Morning Crypto, but I guess there was big news that was going to come out today to where I was going to be able to make Good Evening Crypto. But awesome news. You know, it only took 1,690 days. So ladies and gentlemen, it's finally over. Exciting times. Obviously, you know, from what this means to us perspective, it just means that we have been right all along. We were on the right side of history. We believed in the fact that Ripple and XRP were going to come out winners from this. It wasn't going to be a scenario where Ripple was going to cease to exist, XRP was going to be cease to exist. It's just really a scenario where we saw the opportunity. We saw the opportunity that it ended up being for XRP's price to come down as much as it did when the lawsuit happened, and then us having the opportunity to jump in on that because we believe that it was par for the course and that there was going to be a great outcome from Ripple's part. And obviously, I think that it's priced in. Yes, the price has moved a little bit. I'm not anticipating anything crazy. Do I want it to happen? Absolutely. I want us to go to 370, like you said, Abs. I want us to go $4 and beyond, like your question in the chat was. So I 100% want that to happen. But I do personally think that we were already priced in as far as the lawsuit being over. I think that the optimism of people in the community was already pretty much, you know, with the fact that it's going to be over. They just have to work out the kinks. Now, what I'm really looking forward to, Abs, is what this is going to mean going forward. And I think that one of the things that this is going to definitely mean going forward is the ETFs that have been taking so long to be approved. And one of the things that I've said is that I believe they were simply not approved and being delayed because the lawsuit was not over yet. So I thought that there might have been some sort of legal reason as to why the SEC was delaying or pushing back these ETF filings until the lawsuit was really over. So now that it is, we're going to find out soon enough. But it's exciting times, and thank you for having me on the show, Abs.
Shout out to Mario for making time for us, guys. Ones in chat if you believe we see a $4 XRP this week. Twos in chat if you think we stay below that number. Now, we're really not that far from getting there. We're about what is it, a 15% move. Is it that low? I'll have to do the math on air, guys, from $4 price target for XRP. And I think what's so great about that is when we get up to $4, we have never had a daily closure above 350. So that is going to be a huge range to see how volatile this asset gets. Are these ETFs going live? But there was another major announcement that came out earlier today, Mario, where Trump is signing an executive order allowing crypto and other private assets into 401ks. And so starting towards the back end of this year, we are going to have these spot altcoin ETFs approved, not just for XRP, for Solana, for Cardano, and so on. And what I believe, the digital asset investor put this out on Twitter, and I thought it was so great. We are going to see a diversified approach in these crypto exposures from these private equity companies. So for example, if somebody's going to use their 401k to invest in digital assets, they're just going to buy the Bitwise top 10 composite, which is 60% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum, 5% XRP, 3% Solana, so on and so forth. So that is the future of the industry. And what's so exciting about that, Mario, is Bitcoin is a $2.1 trillion asset, maybe 2.3 at this point. Ethereum, still about a $500 billion asset. XRP is only $181 billion in total market cap. I believe XRP will reach not a triple digit. We will be the first $1 trillion altcoin in this market. And I've been saying it for a long time. My prediction is that Ethereum is going to lose dominance when it comes to smart contracts and stablecoins over this current cycle here with the RLUSD launch and the EVM sidechain going live for XRP. As that occurs and these ETFs come live and we get the Clarity Act, and now we have 401ks and private advisors telling their clients all around the world to start buying these assets and hold them for the long term. I'm going to show you an article later on today, guys, in regards to a man named Rick Edelman. And Rick Edelman is one of the most successful hedge fund investors in America. Google his name. I did. Very, very wealthy individual. He is talking about how regular investors should have 40% of their 401ks allocated to crypto, Mario. That is a huge number. And the moderate account, 10%. He said, even if you don't believe in crypto, 10% of your 401k should be in digital assets. Well, that's a $12.5 trillion market today. So let's use the lowest number of 10%, $1.2 trillion, $1.25 trillion coming into the digital asset market. So again, we are here celebrating the success of Ripple and XRP. And I think there's so much that's going to happen towards the back end of this year. As for today, when we look at the short-term timeframes, volatility is already on the price charts. We already saw this project up 9%, 9.5% on the day. Let's see how high the daily closure is and where are we in relative to Bitcoin? Because if Bitcoin is continuing to climb and XRP dominance is continuing to rise, that paints a more bullish picture than anybody is predicting. But I'm going to show you guys a quick analysis here. This is Blockchain Backer talking about what he's anticipating in the short term for XRP. Here it is.
We're scooting our way up, and that's great. I think we're all here wanting to see breakouts happening throughout the market. And that, of course, goes for things like XRP as well. And so while it sits right here, the things that I'm waiting for on XRP would be actually just a shift back up to the top of the range. Even if it did happen and we got back to the top of the range, I would still think we would actually pull back from the top of that range. So we could get as high as like 370 and then probably pull back to 325, 330. But seeing that actually show up in there would be really optimistic that we're probably gearing up for a breakout to take place later. And I've shown that in other examples in here as well, that just shifting back to the top of the range still could be a big pullback that happens in there, but would lead to a breakout afterwards. And
there you have it, Mario. And that analysis was put out before the news we just got today. So he was calling for this breakout, saying, watch for that 370 range. And now we get this announcement and XRP is trending in that direction. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's a perfect example of show me the chart and I'll tell you the news. And the one thing, and it's funny because you mentioned Gonzo at the beginning of this episode, and in our chat, Gonzo mentioned that kind of the next level to watch is that 333 range. And that when he was doing the analysis for the Academy this morning, he showed one of the levels, which I believe was like $3.20 something, that I think was a VWAP. Again, I'm not 100% certain, but anyway, he was basically seeing in the charts this morning that there was a potential that XRP could move to these levels. That was way before we got the news. So it's crazy how the timing of these events works out so perfectly with what the charts are usually telling people that are chart analysts. So I think it's interesting. Honestly, to me, again, I don't want to be a bear. I think this is amazing. I hope the price continues to go up. But I think the bigger deal, and maybe this all sort of like works as a combination effect. So what the news we just got, It's amazing. It's great because now we have Ripple, the company, and we have XRP, the asset, that have no lingering negative effects, right now. So we're off to the races now. There's absolutely no reason why more institutions wouldn't want to work with Ripple. There's absolutely no reason why more utility shouldn't be coming to the XRP ledger, which it will. And then that combined with the ETFs that are currently sitting on the SEC waiting to be approved, I think that that's going to create a huge demand. And we saw what happened for Bitcoin's price action once the Bitcoin ETFs got approved. I really think that that's going to be a massive deal. I think that ETFs getting approved for XRP is going to be a really good outcome. And obviously us getting the conclusion of the lawsuit is, in my opinion, the last piece of the puzzle that we needed in order to get that moment of these ETFs being approved. So I think that the good news, Abs, is that it's coming. And honestly, this is a great piece of news that is coming at the right time, where August has been outlined as by many analysts as potentially a really good month for crypto in general. So as we start to see news like this flooding in, and obviously today with the signing of that bill from President Trump stating that 401ks can now include crypto, I mean, that is massive. Financial advisors are now able to tell people that they can put their money into crypto. So before it was just the ETFs. Now we're talking about in general. They're going to be able to say you're going to do a 40% allocation, like you said, or a 10% allocation, and it's not going to be limited to just Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's going to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the other crypto assets. And so obviously, one of the things that I think is going to happen, Abs, very soon here is that retail is going to start FOMOing in because price action. So oftentimes when we say, why are prices pumping? It's usually it's sort of like an avalanche effect where price starts jumping in and then people start buying the asset because the price is going up. So at some point it's like, well, why is price going up? Because people are buying it because it's going up. So I think that we're off to a really exciting next few weeks, Abs, and obviously next few months with everything that's lining up for crypto. This is literally the best outcome that we ever could have hoped for when it came to crypto adoption and crypto, advocating for a pro crypto environment in America. So congratulations, everybody that held the line. Congratulations, everybody that amidst all the fear believed that a moment like this would come. And it's here. Let's enjoy it. Let's celebrate.
Guys, we're going for a session high right now. And I wouldn't be surprised at all looking at the price chart. If we get above 331 with volume, starting at around midnight, we could be looking at a $3.38, $3.40 XRP. And with the way that this price chart is moving, I think that would be very fitting for how quickly we see XRP move typically on these catalysts here. Now, I do want to point out something out as well, Mario, because you talked about these ETFs. This is a moment of validation for the entire industry. People who have been here since 2019 or even 2017, like you've been, you know that the ETF narrative typically marked the top of these cycles. Now this narrative is coming in right at the perfect time. Trump signs the big, beautiful bill. Jerome Powell set to lower rates in September. Clarity Act being voted on in the fall. ETF set to be approved in October. All of these different things are happening in the next 3 or 4 months. And I think it sets our listeners and our community up for a situation where they're going to have an opportunity to make more money than they've ever made, at least investing in crypto. This market could go from about $3.5–4 trillion north of $10 trillion in just the next 12 months. We're positioned right next to you guys. I think Digital Asset Investor and Digital Perspectives, they say it best. Stack your pennies next to their dollars. There's a reason that people like Caitlin Long and people like Mark Yusko, who is a friend, right? I would consider Mark Yusko a good friend. We've known him for quite a while now. I would say that the reason they're so critical of the Ripple environment and the XRPL ecosystem is because they're scared about the success of what Ripple has created. And he defined it earlier when he said they took the money they made on XRP and they used that to purchase real world companies, Mario. So Ripple is going out and creating real world demand for the XRP token. And now they're being criticized for that. So somebody said, what about the banking license? I talked about that. I believe it was on Monday's video, guys. And I know it's hard to keep up with every single video, but on Monday's video, we broke this down. What they're afraid of is a revamping of the entire banking system, right? And what Ripple and the XRP ledger are setting up is sort of a global ecosystem where you're able to tokenize real world assets using some of the Ripple products that they provide. And then that value is correlated onto the XRP ledger. So this whole journey of tokenizing real world assets and banks using blockchains like XRP, it still hasn't started. And Mario kind of outlined it. Now that this case is over, now that the Genius Act is passed, that gives us rules and guidelines for stablecoins. The Clarity Act will come in right after that, and that's going to make this market expand. For people who think that XRP is close to a market top, absolutely not. That is my personal opinion. I think that this market is right on the precipice of that really euphoric, exciting moment. And I think Gonzo taught me this in 2023, guys. When you look at these bull markets, 80% of the money for these altcoins is made in the last 20% of the market. What does that mean? If a project goes from, $0 to $10, the last $8 came in 20% of the bull run. So if we're still not in that euphoric phase for a project like XRP trading at 330, Mario, we could easily see a situation where XRP is not only $8, $9, $10, it could be $17, $26, $31. And I can kind of highlight that later on in the episode when you talk about the inflows that are necessary to get there. We do have 12,100 live listeners, guys, over 1,100 watching on the Good Evening Crypto channel. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button. This person said, I need more XRP. That's how I feel every day. I wake up, I go, I need more Bitcoin. I need more XRP. And for the time being, I need to turn these US dollars into something more valuable. But guys, I just want to make a big announcement. We are only, let me give the live check, we just passed it. 15,000 subscribers on Good Evening Crypto. Huge thank you to anybody who subscribes, guys. And I've been super consistent with the content. We're going to continue to do that. Coming on here, bringing Mario, bringing Johnny Krypto, bringing Dom, some of the different people that we've had on the program. And also Mikkel is going to be joining this show next Thursday, I believe. I have to double check my calendar. Could be 2 weeks out, might be 1 week out. Mikkel will be the first guest I interview on Good Evening Crypto. So I'm really excited to do that, Mario. That's going to be a very fun, probably informative interview. And now that the case is over, we may see announcement after announcement come into this market. We saw it with the stablecoin acquisition. We have the Hidden Road acquisition. We have the case that's over. I think the big gazillion dollar question for this market, when are these ETFs approved and when can we start tracking the public inflows on programs just like ours? But Mario, floor is yours, and then we'll get into some topics.
Well, I definitely think it's coming soon. We know that there's a couple of dates coming up, I believe either at the end of September or into October. But honestly, now that the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit is fully at a close, I think that we could potentially get a surprise and just have the SEC announce approvals of those ETFs. I wouldn't be surprised, Abs. And obviously, I think that that's going to be a bigger catalyst. I think that the market was already expecting the lawsuit to be over. There was absolutely nothing on the table that gave indication that we should be dealing with this lawsuit for much longer, because the SEC said they wanted to end it. Ripple said they wanted to end it. It just came to a point where the judge was like, wait, what are you guys doing? Like, we can't, we wasted 4 years of court's time. I can't just make it that easy. So instead they came to a consensus of really not changing the prior agreement, which was the fine. So my understanding of it is that Ripple just said, you know what? It is what it is. Let's not drag this longer than we need to anymore. Let's keep the prior agreement, and let's just end it. So now that that's over, Abs, I think that we should be expecting those ETFs, and I think that the ETFs are a much bigger deal because, one, I don't believe that the market and that the price action for XRP has fully priced that in, and number two, there's going to be real money that's going to come into those ETFs that is automatically going to reflect in the price of XRP, in the market cap of XRP. Again, it's a spot ETF, so that means they have to go and actually buy the XRP and hold it on their balance sheet. So if all of a sudden there's $15 billion of inflows, that means they have to go and acquire $15 billion worth of that XRP. So it's a huge deal. I think it's going to come in and it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. I've tried to use it, never works, but I think that now we're primed to finally get that happening, Abs. And I do think that will be a catalyst that will explode the price of XRP. Again, I do believe this one was sort of already priced in. I don't want to be a bear here, but I've seen this time and time again where we get news that the market was already expecting, we pump, and then 24 hours later, we're back at the prices that we were 24 hours prior. I'm not saying, and I hope that's not the case for here, because I do want the price to go up and I do want everybody to experience the price to continue to go up. But I do believe that it was already a priced in type of environment. And I think the ETFs, again, is going to be a completely different scenario. It's going to be a pump, and I think it's going to be a pump that will be sustainable.
I think these ETFs are going to allow for XRP to go higher than people anticipate, but it may come lower during a bear market, guys. And what I think Mario highlighted that's even more important, even if we go down to where this pump started at, that is only $3.10. I'll take a $3.10 XRP any day of the week, believe it or not, guys. And I want to give a huge shout out to a couple of the super chats. We got Mark Smithson, always sarcastic in chat. Shout out to you, my friend, with the $5 super sticker. We appreciate you being here every single day. Jay Portagi commented, shout out to the greatest team on the planet. Thank you for all you do, Abs, and fellow Portuguese, Mario. Shout out to you. Big shout out to the Portuguese. The former world conquerors, guys. Know your world history. Very important. Matthew commented, and shout out on your wedding. I believe Matthew got married last Friday. This is for the GOATs. Appreciate you guys every day and night. And we're going to keep the content coming. As long as we've got exciting topics to discuss, which seems to be every single day in crypto, guys, we're going to talk about it here on Good Evening Crypto. And we got 13,600 people here. If you're enjoying this content, if you're excited about the case being over, you want to celebrate with us, show us some love, smash that like button, throw some ones in chat, some celebration emojis. I'm going to throw the comments on screen for you guys because it is an exciting day. It's a very exciting day for the XRP community. And that's why guys like Gary Cardone are coming out and congratulating us, Mario. But I wanted to have a little bit of fun. Earlier today, Bloomberg put out an update in regards to their XRP ETF chances for approval. Now, the timing on this, I'll just say it how it is, was horrendous because look at the odds here, guys. Polymarket data, the odds of an XRP ETF approval dropped from 86% to 62% in just the last 2 days. Well, Eric Balanchunas, the lead ETF analyst at Bloomberg, commented, this is interesting. Trades reporting how Polymarket odds of an XRP ETF approval went down to 62% after the votes were disclosed, showing that Commissioner Crenshaw was voting no, which we've showed this before. Crenshaw has highlighted this time and time again. She votes no on everything. He said it's meaningless because she's outnumbered. Bloomberg has not changed our odds. It is still 95% chance of an XRP ETF approval here, according to Bloomberg. So if you're looking at Polymarkets, guys, and I'm going to pull up this link in the background. Massive thank you, Mario. If you're looking at Polymarkets, maybe this is easy money. I mean, listen, we're not financial advisors. I'm not placing this bet. I got my bet placed by holding the actual XRP tokens, but going down from 86% to 62%, and then the case is resolved, I wouldn't be surprised if you checked it right now. Those odds have probably rebounded dramatically. And guess what, Mario, my prediction was correct. I just looked at the data in the background. The odds after the news was announced went from 62% to now sitting at a strong 85%. So that was free money. I called it. I wish I saw it at the time. I would have given you guys some additional insight. But Mario, I think this is an important one. What are some of your thoughts here?
Yeah, again, my first thought when you showed me that is like, I bet the odds have gone up after the SEC versus lawsuit being resolved. And that's why I pulled it up. I found it. I sent you the link, and you can see it's right up again at the 85, I think 86 now. So, and obviously as the market kind of becomes more aware of what just happened with the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, I think that the odds of that are probably going to go even higher. So again, I think the odds are extremely high for those ETFs to finally be approved. We got a lot of great news recently. Like we got the news that liquid staking is allowed in the US. We got the obviously the conclusion of the lawsuit. That's what we've been talking about all this time. But we've got the bills that are making huge progress in Congress that are going to allow for regulation to be solidified for crypto. And I think all of these things are really getting XRP to a point where the SEC is going to have to approve it. They're holding all these different meetings. The current SEC is a pro crypto SEC. So why would they not approve an XRP ETF? And I think that the only way we can answer that is if they're still somewhat pulling the strings on Ethereum, the whole Ethereum idea of Ethereum being the chosen one, Solana being the chosen one, and XRP kind of. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that the market and I think that the current administration is trying to, I wouldn't say favor, but definitely include XRP. There's been inclusively. There's been posts by Donald Trump mentioning XRP. So I think that those times are over. And obviously, all the developments that we've seen, even from Ripple's side, with all the acquisitions, with the partnerships, I think that those are great indications. I mean, I thought it was very awesome today how we got I had never heard of the company. So to me, it was almost like, oh, that's cool, $200 million. But what does that even mean? What's that company, right? But they bought Rails. And what's the one thing that we've been talking about for the longest of time here on the channel, and I know there are other content creators as well, is that Ripple is building, or that is improving the new Rails. It's improving the Rails for this payments infrastructure. So I thought it was very interesting how they acquired a company that was called Rails. But I think all of these things are obviously signs. They're just information that tell us where we're going, where we're headed in the future. It's not going to be a straight up scenario, but it's definitely going to be a staircase up. I definitely think that we're going to have just slowly grind up moments of price action that obviously are going to come with a lot of good news and good developments, which is what this market has been waiting for. And I think the market's ready for that.
Guys, getting a daily closure up here towards 327 is massive for the daily price chart. And I'll show you the analytics to kind of back this up right now. But there's a couple live chat comments I wanted to read. First of all, massive thank you for the donations, guys. Every single donation is appreciated here on GEC. Crypto Newbie commented, pump and dump with this case would be extremely demoralizing. And here's the reality. I don't think it's significant whatsoever. But my belief is we're not pumping and dumping. This is something different here, guys. There's too much positive momentum. And keep this in mind, Mario. We're in a bull market. That's a huge difference between what happened in 2023 when Judge Torres initially resolved this case and 2025 here, where both these parties have dropped the appeal. Bitcoin's $115,000, $120,000 at this point. XRP is $3.26, just up about 5-10% on the day off this news. It's a completely different environment. So my belief is will not be a pump and dump. I'm willing to go and say that on camera right now. Massive thank you to $2 donation here. One Voice Art says, great news to end the week. Completely agree. And huge thank you for the donation, my friend. We got 15,200 people here. One's in chat. If you believe XRP gets a daily closure today above $3.30, that's about an hour and 20 minutes from now. Will we close above 330? That would be fairly important. And as you guys can tell, looking at the price chart right now, closing anywhere above this 325, that's going to be fairly significant for the momentum of this chart. So we are already sitting in positive momentum here. Bitcoin trending up, XRP trending up. And here's the best part, guys. Donald Trump just signed an executive order unlocking $12.5 trillion worth of capital, allowing that to be invested in crypto. 1% is $125 billion. 10%, $1.25 trillion. Does anybody know what the actual math would be if $1 trillion came into crypto? That alone would be enough to push us easily to $10 trillion in total market cap. And so keep that in mind, guys. I want to give a massive thank you, Stone and Lamb, with a $20 dono. Huge thank you to you, my friend. I hope that rat snake weasel Gary Gensler's name is never seen or heard from again. Congrats to all like me who felt like he stole their money for 3.5 years. Shout out to you, my friend. We've been here with you, and big thank you to Mario. Mario's been here for almost 10 years, guys. So Mario's been here since 2017, been holding XRP since then. That's 8 years of dealing with some of the adversity that we talk about. And you know what the positive end of that is? We got to accumulate 50 cent XRP far longer than we should have. People who were buying from 2020 to 2024, you were given a gift. And Gary Gensler, whether he realized it or not, gave you a huge opportunity to make a lot more money over these next couple of years. Motorbike Mike commented, abs, bring on the bearable bull. Now he's the face reveal on Insta. We did reach out to Bearable Bull. He's a tough guy to get in contact with. I would love to have the Bearable Bull on the program. So you have my word, guys. I'm going to send him a DM after the show. And a huge thank you for the $5 donation. There's nothing better than talking to the Bearable Bull. Massive thank you to Sam Good, C4, with the $49.99 donation. Huge shout out to you, my friend, and big gratitude on our end. Thank you, Abs. I'm a silent listener since aren't election on time. I have no doubt you, JV, Gonzo, and Johnny have changed my family's wealth trajectory. I'm a Merlin user too. You know what? This comment made my night, Mario. If I wasn't so happy, if there wasn't so much positive energy in the air, we could end it right now. But we're going to keep this thing rocking and rolling towards the end of today's episode because those $50 donations, they put a little bit of spark in us, Mario. They give a little extra energy on these Good Evening Crypto streams. So huge shout out to you, my friend. We're appreciative and thankful. Big thank you to Sam Good. And Mario, we are going to see more positive momentum towards the end of the year. Let's not get distracted. The whole purpose of this episode today is We are now at the beginning of something much bigger than the adversity that we had to overcome during the Biden administration. The floodgates have been opened, whatever you'd like to call it. Wall Street 2.0, tokenization of real world assets, whatever terminology you'd like to use. It's like Trump says, you can call it whatever you want. They lied. There were no weapons of mass destruction. That was back in 2016. Iconic Trump moment for those who know what I'm talking about. Whatever happened from 2020 to 2024, it's irrelevant. Now we're focused on adoption. We are focused on real world utility, and we're focused on assets like XRP. Instead of being pushed out of this market, instead of being treated like the outcast, we are now going to take center stage when it comes to adoption here inside the United States. But Mario, floor is yours, my friend, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, and it's coming. Like everything that we've speculated over time, like it's coming. We spent for like 2 or 3 years. It was scary to be a crypto investor. It was scary to even participate in the market. Why would any institution would want to work with any crypto type of environment? I mean, it was being slowed down. They even try to completely get rid of crypto in the United States. So now we're in the opposite of environment. We've got those tailwinds, like Brad Gallinghouse keeps saying, and I really believe that going forward, especially with the clarity piece, obviously with Ripple. There's gonna be an almost like an added benefit now, which is no longer having that lawsuit, because it's going to add more clarity. It's going to add more confidence for institutions to want to work with Ripple. But overall, in general, for crypto, having the clarity is going to allow for all of these different institutions that have been looking at crypto, been on the sidelines. I mean, just look at what the banking giants are doing right now. Wells Fargo, Chase, they're literally introducing crypto services to their list of services, right? They're introducing the ability for retail to be able to now have exposure to crypto, be able to buy and sell and hold crypto. That is massive. And the only reason why we have that happening is because we're getting the clarity. We don't have that environment of trying to shut down crypto. We have actually the opposite. We have the environment where they're advocating positively for crypto. They're creating regulation. They're creating that good environment. So going forward, I anticipate and I expect more utility announcements. I expect more partnerships. I expect things to really ramp up. And I shared my opinion on something that happened over at the beginning of this week, Abs, which last week, towards the end of, the last couple of days of last week and then into the weekend, obviously crypto was the only market that was open, but there was a bit of FUD in the market. There was a lot of stuff happening macro level that was giving a bit of FUD to the markets. The stock market went down. Crypto over the weekend, we were posting some content from the lake as we were getting absolutely wrecked, and we were using analogies, towards crypto. Don't get FUDed and things like that. But look what happened once the week started. The stock market alone added $1 trillion in one day. $1 trillion of money came into the stock market alone in one day. The crypto market is 3.7. Think about that. The whole entire crypto market is 3.7. $1 trillion went into the stock market. And that was a drop in the bucket for the stock market. So think about how early we are. The fact that it's only 3.7 at this point. The fact that all of the major things that we anticipate that is going to happen for the crypto space hasn't even happened yet. Tokenization barely getting started. The full-blown use of stablecoins barely getting started. Regulation barely getting started. Utility. I mean, I think the utility that we have right now, I've shared my opinion. I think it's a majority of it is just testing environments. It's just testing utility. It's not full-blown utility. Again, we're so early. That's why, I always preface 5 to 10 years, because we need to give time. The more time we give this market, the better it's going to be for the people that are exposed to it. And we are just getting started. Again, a third of the total crypto went into the stock market in one day alone. So that should really tell you how much money is on the sidelines waiting to go into the crypto market. It is just going to happen. It's going to grow. I think the next few years are so exciting, Abs.
Mario, you may even get tired of winning, according to Donald Trump, guys. And I want to give a massive shout out to a couple other donations that just came in. First of all, Stuart Taylor commented, "Love the show, guys. Awesome content as always. What is your XLM price target for this cycle? What a time to be alive." First of all, that's a great comment. Huge thank you to you, Stuart Taylor, for the $15 donation. Now, when it comes to XLM, here's what I'll say. The growth of the XLM ecosystem will correlate to the growth of XRP. If XRP goes to $8, XLM will probably go around $1.20. If XRP goes to $12, we may see $1.70. If XRP goes to some of these dramatically higher price targets, XLM is going to follow right on behind it. So my anticipation is we are going to see at least a $1 XRP. That's a very safe estimate I can give you, Stuart Taylor. And if you'd like me to get crazy, just throw another comment in chat and I'll tell you just how high I think we could go, especially with the bullish momentum behind XRP. Now, guys, we did break 635 likes on the episode. We're breaking records today, not just for XRP at 329. We're breaking records on GEC. So if you enjoy this content, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. We do an update every single day for the XRP community. And Mario, whether it's the XRP lawsuit, whether it's Donald Trump signing the 401ks, there was a third major amendment that came out earlier today, where Donald Trump signed a second crypto executive order preventing banks from debanking or not working with clients who want to use them for crypto services. So let's say Mario makes $10,000. He wants to deposit that from his Coinbase into his bank, and his bank says no way. Well, that means that the federal government's going to start asking some questions. So Donald Trump just set the standard. Banks around the country are going to be adopting digital assets, and they're going to let people like me and Mario start custodying our crypto with a Goldman Sachs, a Wells Fargo, a Bank of America, so on and so forth. I do want to give a big shout out to For Love, guys. We got 17,500 people here. If you enjoy this content, throw your 2025 XRP price prediction in the live chat. I'd love to see where people's heads are at. Are we going to 10, 20, 50, 100? Or are you part of the Jay Claver community? Are we going to $1,000 XRP? Here's one thing I can promise you. If we go to $1,000 XRP, Mario, you're going to get $1,000 per episode on Good Evening Crypto. I promise you that. That is from my word of mouth to God, and it's going to be coming fairly soon. I hope that made you laugh. Give me some thoughts here, and then we'll dive right into our article in relation to Trump criticizing and coming after banks that want to debank crypto clients.
Again, like think about how different and how much of a 180 that is versus what we experienced in 2023. I mean, massive. And we've been saying this for a while. And, Coach JV has been saying it for even longer, that he envisioned the future where the two industries would meet in the middle, right? And what we're seeing is exactly that. We're seeing the banks introduce the crypto services. And at the same time, we're seeing the crypto services wanting to also become banks. So I think it's a combination of the two sides, and I think that it is going to happen. We already had many attempts at banks introducing crypto services, been mostly those online banks, those sort of fintech related banks. So not necessarily, a Chase, a Bank of America. I think that those are coming now. Those are starting to finally, because we've got regulation and clarity, those are jumping in. But what else do we have, Abs? We have Ripple wanting to become a bank. We have Kraken wanting to become a bank. Coinbase wanting to become a bank. And it makes complete sense. If banks are allowed to offer crypto services, why wouldn't a platform or an institution like Coinbase be allowed to also do the banking side of it? I think it makes complete sense as long as they're acquiring the right licenses, they're following the right regulation. I don't think that they should be stopped. This is going to be amazing for retail because it's going to add more services, more utility, more competition, which is going to push all these, traditional Wells Fargo, Chase, so on and so forth, to also improve their systems, offer better services to clients. We shouldn't have to wait days for payments to go through. We shouldn't have to pay, tens and hundreds of dollars for payment transfers. All of that can be made faster, better, cheaper using crypto. And with the clarity, that moment's coming up sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
I completely agree with you, Mario. And think about it. For a long time, me and you would have to get on the phone calls. We'd be up till 2 a.m. with Johnny Krypto on our Zoom calls talking about what's going to happen. We should publish this article. We should put this out. Now we've seen so many of our predictions actually start to come to fruition. And our next big prediction, guys, XRP is going to be breaking all-time high in the fall of 2025. We can speculate about how high we go, but consensus from our community, me, Gonzo, Johnny, Mario, Coach JV, we are right on the precipice of reaching price targets that we've been talking about for 5 years. Not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, not 4 years, 5 years here in the XRP community. And I want to give a huge thank you. We got 2 more donations here. Massive shout out to For Love with the $20. Huge shout out to the favorite dog in chat. Look at the dog, very handsome and beautiful, dressed with the suit in the profile picture, Mario. Gotta love to see it. Angus Scrim with the $5 dono. He said cheers with the 4 cups of whiskey. Hey, don't be driving, my friend. Don't get too wild out there, Angus Scrim. We appreciate you and thank you for the $5 donation. John commented, I'm waiting for Flare to explode with XRP. It's going to be exciting, guys. The DeFi opportunities that enter the crypto market, allowing people to earn 1, 3, 5, 10% on their crypto year over year. I think the compounding effect is real. I think it's one of the most underestimated parts of investing in crypto. When Nexo was offering 4 or 5% for your XRP, Mario, when it's safe and it's essentially free money, it can have a real impact. And let's say somebody had 100,000 XRP. That is 4,000 individual units of XRP you were getting year over year from Nexo, which maybe it was 40 cents at the time, maybe it was 50 cents. Now that's $3. So let's say you got 4,000 XRP and that was worth $2,000. That is now worth, let me do the math. I think it would be about $16,000, guys. That's a huge difference when you really think about it. $16,000 in passive income year over year. Those are the type of things that we're going to find, the best products, and we're going to provide them here. And I do have only 2 companies listed below my video, guys. We're not sponsored. I use these products. We've obviously got OMNI, and Mario, I think you should talk a little bit about the AI capabilities of OMNI. But we also have Merlin, guys, and we talk about this very, very consistently. The smartest way to track your crypto. And of course, I'm signing into my account live on air. Now, why is our application so great? We allow you to get in here and create an exit plan for any digital asset, regardless of what exchange you use, what cold wallet, what hot wallet, whatever asset you have. You can plug it into the Merlin app, create arbitrary price targets, and figure out what exactly your profits and losses will be, as well as getting tax estimates. And the best part, this is free. 30 days, completely free. Test out every single one of these applications. And I know, Mario, I probably shouldn't spill the beans, but I will. We have some amendments coming into our application that are going to help people to create these exit plans. And that's as much as I can say on that until Mario gives me the go-ahead and tap of the hat here, guys. But we do have 18,700 people. If you're just joining this show, the big news, breaking news, the SEC and Ripple have both filed to dismiss their appeals. The case is officially over. And that announcement came about an hour and a half ago at this point. And since that announcement, Mario, we have seen very bullish momentum, tons of bullish momentum in the price chart, watching this asset go from about $3.10 north of $3.30 as we speak. We are entering the session high right now, guys, looking at $3.30. And I think we're going to continue to climb. Momentum is behind us in this market. And I pointed it out earlier, Mario. I think you're going to kind of double down on this once again. When we look at where the market was in 2023, when this case dropped, we doubled in price and we capitulated right away. It was a bear market. I think Bitcoin was actually less than $50,000 at the time. So for people who are kind of like waiting for that pullback, I'm not entirely sure we're ever going to see sub $3 XRP once again. It's really going to be dictated by Bitcoin and what happens over these next couple of months. But Mario, what are some of your thoughts?
Well, I definitely think you're right. The one thing that we see, oh, look, 331. Nice. The one thing we see time and time again is Bitcoin going up. Usually, it's a great sign for crypto. It's a great sign for altcoins. We do want a bullish Bitcoin because that is ultimately going to mean that we're going to have a bullish altcoin. We're going to have alt season. And we actually had a glimpse of that in July to where we saw Bitcoin go sideways. And while Bitcoin was going sideways, a lot of that dominance, a lot of that money was flowing then into the alts. Without Bitcoin crashing, we then were able to see some of these altcoin prices go up exponentially. That is the expected outcome. What I think that we're getting for XRP, which is very interesting, is we're getting an XRP dominance increase. And a lot of chart analysts talk about and compare about the XRP versus Bitcoin pair and how XRP is basically going up in that pairing of Bitcoin to XRP, which basically just means that the dominance between the Bitcoin and XRP chart is increasing. Therefore, more money is going to XRP versus the ratio for Bitcoin. So I think those moments are coming. The more and more that this year progresses, the more that we're seeing a lot of altcoin activity, a lot of altcoin excitement, a lot of excitement around all these different altcoins. Ethereum is finally starting to wake up. There's a lot more talk about Ethereum. There's a lot more promise about potential partnerships and good things that are coming for Ethereum. But to me, that's obviously exciting because it tells me that all these different projects that we're invested in, like XRP, like HBAR, like Quant, and I don't know why I mentioned Quant because I hope it moves. But even like Ondo, I mean, I decided to invest in Ondo as my sort of real world assets tokenization play in the beginning of the year. And I have this rule, which is when we're in a confirmed bull market, I don't put any more money into crypto unless it's something extraordinary. And I decided, because I didn't have an RWA play in my portfolio, I decided to choose Ondo. So I've been buying up Ondo. It was awesome to see that Ripple featured the CEO of Ondo a couple of days ago in that video that they put out. So again, Ondo is working with Ripple to tokenize on the XRPL. So that's awesome. And I think that that's a great indication of, in the future for Ondo to do really well. And I think that we pretty much have that confirmed at this point, Abs. But alt season is around the corner. And I think that we should all be excited because prices, this is not euphoria yet. Just wait until euphoria comes.
Guys, I wish Johnny Krypto was available. I would love to hear what some of his opinions are today. Now, one of the things I know about Johnny Krypto is he's always going to provide a little dose of reality. And I think what he would say right now is that XRP, this is long overdue. I believe that XRP would have hit $3.30 in the last bull market, Mario, if it wasn't suppressed and criticized by the United States government. I want to give a huge thank you to John Don 12 with the $10 donation. Shout out to you and your son in your profile picture. You look like a happy group there. Big thank you for the $10 donation. Much appreciated, guys. I'm appreciative of every single donation here. And of course, XRP is going for that session high right now, currently trading at about $3.32 on the price chart. I think we could say, Mario, I just said it about 5 minutes ago. I go, do you think we're going to get a daily closure above 330? That was at 640. It's now 659, and we are trading at $3.33. So I'm anticipating we could easily see a $3.40 XRP tonight, maybe even well beyond that. So awesome, guys. I couldn't be more excited. I want to give a huge thank you to Mario for being here with us today. Just a couple of articles we'll break down before we wrap up today's episode. 19 different XRP ETFs have already been filed at the SEC. And once one of these products is approved, all of them are going to be approved. We're going to see Wall Street bust into the crypto market in a way that we've never seen before. Donald Trump just opened up the floodgates by signing a brand new executive order here. President Trump at 3:50 p.m., less than 3 hours ago, President Trump officially signs an executive order opening the $12.5 trillion 401k retirement market into crypto investments. And I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I believe that they're going to put a portfolio like this. So most people aren't going to go out and just buy Bitcoin or just Ethereum or just XRP. They're going to go out and offer a basket like Bitwise offers, which is 75% Bitcoin, 15% Ethereum, 6% XRP, 3% Solana, 1% Cardano, and then so on and so forth throughout the top 10. That's a much safer approach, and it benefits people like us so much more. And now that this case is over, Mario, it's not a security. There's no government lawsuit. Nobody's worried about being prosecuted anymore. XRP should be at the forefront of the majority of the investment portfolios. And here's the biggest advantage I think XRP will have on Ethereum when all is said and done here inside the United States. I think they're going to look at Ethereum and go, it's not an American asset, right? And Caitlin Long, I think it might have been Caitlin Long, might have been Mark Yusko, I can't remember, said, I have it on good authority that when the U.S. government starts tokenizing treasuries, they're going to do it on Ethereum. I don't believe so, guys. And maybe I'll be proven wrong. I would say that I'm not super confident in that proclamation. Like usually I'll come on, share the truth with you guys. That one I think is still up in the air. I don't have any inside info there. But the truth of the matter is, why would they start minting assets on a blockchain that's controlled outside the United States when they could do the same thing on a blockchain that operates here? So just very, very simple. I want to give a big thank you to Jared, $2 donation. When XRP breaks $4, abs, new bench PR of 300 pounds, guys. I'm going to need a little steroids if we're going to get to that 300, Mario. Of course, I'm a clean athlete over here, minus the athlete. But floor is yours. What are some of your thoughts on the 401k update and the fact that Bitwise already has a diversified approach that I think a lot of people are just going to lean into?
I think so. And you know, the more and more the time passes, and obviously this year has been pivotal because we're no longer, and I think it's funny that that image that's over in the comments on the right side. Oh my gosh, diamond. You see that? Anyway, I think this year has been pivotal because we're finally starting to paint a good picture of crypto to the masses. For the longest of time, it was always negativity. It was always this thing of we the best. Yeah, absolutely. That I love that. It was always this thing of crypto is used for nefarious activities, for criminal activity, all this negative stuff, which we knew in essence that wasn't necessarily true. And we're finally starting to get a lot of good media coverage. We're starting to get media coverage about how JP Morgan Chase is introducing services around crypto. We're getting coverage around the acquisitions that are being made. We're getting coverage about the use of stable coins, and the benefit to using stable coins. You watch Bloomberg nowadays, tons of crypto related coverage. And it's good coverage because it's educating the masses on what crypto really is doing, on the transition that we're starting to see as an industry, as a technology, and the financial system starting to evolve. And at the same time, as you've stated in the past, Abs, absorbing a lot of that crypto. So the merging of the two sides, the merging of crypto with the financial system. So that is great coverage, which is going to allow for a lot of these people that have been on the fence. They haven't, wanted to even invest in crypto because of everything that they kept hearing. Now they're going to look at this, and especially with their financial advisors being on board and allowed to talk about these cryptocurrencies, they're going to be like, well, why don't you put some, 15% into this and 10% into that? And I think it's going to be massive, and over the next few years, it should only get better. And it's only honestly up from here. And I think that we're getting to a point where that adoption curve is going to start to get that exponential way up, because if we go into an environment where there is no uncertainty as far as crypto as a technology and as far as crypto as a utility and adoption and growth and being implemented, then why would we go down, right? Why would we, and I still think we're going to have a bear market, but my point is, why would we have 90% corrections? I think the 90% corrections are over. And obviously I'm saying this live, a lot of people are going to hold me accountable, but for the majority of the projects that we talk about, obviously the meme coins, the projects that are low in market cap, absolutely in the cards. But the projects that we talk about every single day, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, HBAR, those projects that are really working to solve a problem and that are creating a lot of utility, I think the 90% corrections for those might be over, because we're entering a completely different scenario. Do I still think we're going to get a bear market? Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's going to be way softer than any of us have experienced if you've been here in bear markets. So next few years, super exciting, Abs, because I really think that we are about to enter that adoption phase, that utility phase that we've talked about for a number of years at this point.
And I kind of wanted to highlight that earlier too, where I'm like, all of the things we were speculating on are now really happening. Like just 12 months ago, Ripple didn't have a stablecoin. This case was still ongoing. Donald Trump wasn't president. Clarity Act wasn't a debate. Genius Act wasn't passed. The Crypto Advisory Council with Bo Hines and David Sachs and the White House Crypto Summit, all of these different things are only because of the Trump administration. And if it wasn't for the Trump administration, I don't believe XRP would be a $3.30 asset, guys. That's the truth of the matter, and I'll debate anybody on that. Massive thank you to Christopher here with the $4 donation, a $5 donation. Huge shout out and thank you to you, my friend. He said, Gensler changed my life. Came into this generational operation in 2020. You guys as well with the knowledge and encouragement. Just hold, my friends. And that's some really smart advice. Big thank you to Chris. And I want to give a shout out to Charles. Charles said, Abs and Mario, congratulations. You missed my super chat. Winning. I just scrolled through the super chats. I do not have one from you, Charles. I don't know. Maybe YouTube just kept the $5-10 themselves. Who knows what's going on out there, guys. But we do have 21,000 live listeners here. If you're enjoying this content, we are already at 825 likes for the episode. Let's stay on until we pass 1,000, guys. Show us some love. Smash that like button. We're going to stick around until we pass 1,000 likes here on GEC, breaking records on this very exciting morning. Now, what does this really mean? So obviously the case is over. So I'm just going to give you some basic bullet points here. First of all, clarity on XRP. It's not a security. XRP is not a security in the American markets going forward. Anybody who says otherwise, it's fake news. It's fake news out of China, my friends. Now, it's also going to be lifting restrictions. So the settlement included a request to lift the injunction on Ripple's institutional XRP sales. This means that Ripple will be free to sell directly to institutions inside the United States without any legal constraints, potentially boosting business, according to one report. It also is going to allow Ripple's strategic shift in creating the Internet of Value, focusing on the United States market as opposed to focusing on products overseas over the past decade or so. So Massive, massive news, guys. And I want to give a big thank you to Eric. I think this is Eric smash the like button. That's typically his handle here, guys. And I got to give a shout out to Mario because Mario's the tech guy. For some reason, in my Good Evening Crypto live chat, everybody's usernames are showing and not the names for their actual page. So I'm going to see if Mario can maybe help me fix that after the program. We do have it the other way in Good Morning Crypto. So shout out to Mario and a big thank you to Eric for the $10 super sticker. We're here celebrating, guys. But you heard it here. This settlement also removes the injunction preventing Ripple to sell XRP directly to institutions inside the United States. That in and of itself is huge. And I think 1 billion comes out of the escrow every single month. Ripple typically gets rid of about, I think it's 170 million of the billion, and then 800 million go back into the escrow, guys. But we did get another live donation. Huge thank you to Charles with the $10 dono. He says, boom. YouTube didn't take that one. That one definitely came through, my friend. So shout out to you, Charles, as we're entering this cycle high, kind of watching where does XRP end up closing out today, right? I'd love to see a daily closure here above $3.30. But Mario, just some thoughts overall. Looking at all these different catalysts, I think the XRP community should be ready for the bull momentum we've been talking about. There's going to be another leg up. That's my belief. Whether it's $5 or $6 or $4 or $10, $12. The XRP community needs to be prepared right now, knowing exactly where they're going to take profit. That's why I encourage you guys to get into Merlin. And this is a good example of a mock portfolio. So in this fake portfolio, this is not real. We have 26,000 tokens, 17,000 ready to sell, and we're holding 9,100 forever. If we complete on all of our price targets at $5, at $9.98, and at $12.36, we would finish with $151,000 in total value with an estimated tax rate of about $31,800. This is the power of the Merlin application, guys, giving you the same tools that the largest companies on the planet have, and you can use all of them for 30 days completely free. Now, this person said, oh my God, I can't believe it. I feel the same way. And I don't think they're talking about the Merlin exit plan, Mario. I think they're talking about a resolution in the Ripple versus SEC case, which me and you have been talking about for 3-4 years at this point. If you just had to send a message to newer investors or older investors, what does this mean about where we are in the Ripple journey? Do you think from this point forward, we're going to start seeing those 1,700 NDAs come into effect? And maybe they don't come out and say, hey, we've been working with Ripple, but it will just be an announcement of, oh, this lawsuit's over. Now Wells Fargo is ready to use their blockchain for settlement, right? And so we can make the safe assumption that the NDAs have been lifted. Floor is yours.
Yeah, 1,000%. I do believe that's the case. Again, in an environment where crypto wasn't an exciting thing to be a part of, in an environment where Ripple was being sued by the SEC, why would any of these institutions want to be connected to Ripple? Why would they even want to be connected to a crypto company, let alone Ripple? We now have a scenario where crypto is being painted a better picture. Crypto is being painted a picture of a technology that's here to stay, and that America wants to become number one as far as innovation within that technology. And with Ripple no longer being having that lingering lawsuit against the SEC, I think we can absolutely expect all those NDAs, or at least, the NDAs, to start to come to fruition and start to find out who in fact are the companies and institutions that have been working with Ripple. And I also think that it's going to be a domino effect, Abs. And I know not from a price perspective, but I think it's going to be a domino effect from the interest perspective, of interest of wanting to work with Ripple, and interest of wanting to explore what the XRPL has to offer for improving a lot of the services. I think that that's going to happen. I think that all of these different catalysts are going to want, I think essentially they're going to ramp up interest, which is then going to allow for a more competitive environment, because now the rules are clear. Like, financial institutions don't have to be guessing, and they don't have to be asking their legal team if they even should pursue wanting to implement something crypto related. Now they're going to get the answer of the legal team just on what they're allowed to do, right? The legal team is going to be able to say, we are allowed to do this. We can now partner with Ripple. We can utilize their services to do, X, Y, and Z. And we know the rules of the road because it's clear now. I definitely think that's in the cards. And I definitely think that we will soon find out what some of those NDAs are. And I think that, again, it's going to be a domino effect. I think that some of the companies that may not even be a part of those NDAs are going to approach Ripple and want to work with them. It's crazy because it's this scenario where we had to go through the worst thing ever to get the best thing ever. And that's why it's such a rewarding time right now. Even, taking price action to the side, it's very rewarding to know that throughout the years of extreme FUD and extreme fear, we still believe that XRP and Ripple, it was much bigger than what was happening at the time, which was the lawsuit. It was going to come to a conclusion. We were often comparing it to Amazon and how Amazon got sued, and it still is what it is today. Tesla, Elon getting sued multiple times. And here we have it. We have a moment in time now where that is the truth. We were on the right side of history. We believe we could have been totally wrong, but we weren't on this case. So let's celebrate. So great times, Abs. I'm excited. And I think that, yes, domino effect for companies wanting to work with Ripple for sure.
Guys, we're about to break 1,000 likes on today's episode. So I just want to give a massive thank you to every single person who joined us today. If you're enjoying this content, we are at exactly 950. Show us some love, smash that like button, and get ready because we're going to start breaking down some other exciting topics here for as long as Mario can stick around. And Mario, I just want to give a huge thank you for you coming on and joining me for the show. This would have been a solo episode if it wasn't for Mr. Mario. So hashtag Mar-a-Lago Marios in chat, guys. Big thank you to our friend up there. Now, one of the things that's interesting about what's happening right now, Mario, is Bitcoin dominance is also dropping. And for our listeners who follow Mario, Johnny, and Gonzo, we've been talking about this for a really long time. As Bitcoin dominance falls, that will lead us into alt season. Money from Bitcoin moving out of Bitcoin and into projects like XRP is the number one thing our listeners should be aware of. And we see it time and time again here for the XRP community, where people are so critical of XRP right before major bullish momentum hits the space. Mario, I'm just thinking out loud, and I'm getting ready to roll into our next topic, guys. I do have a great topic prepared, but I want to just say this out loud. The campaign that happened just 24 hours ago, scaring people away from Ripple, from Custodian Bank CEO, from someone like Mark Yusko, these are people who were promoting the narrative, don't touch this stuff, stay away from it, Ripple's a scam, it had an ICO. 24 hours later, the lawsuit's resolved. Live chat, I want to hear from you guys. I'm not going to say it myself. One's in chat if you believe they knew that this lawsuit was ending. Two's in chat if you think they had no idea and it was a total coincidence that they just happened to FUD XRP less than 24 hours before this lawsuit was resolved. Now, I want to give a huge shout out to KG, aka Seattle Super Sock. Thank you for the live $20 donation. Huge shout out to you, KG, because KG, first of all, he's one of the most loyal listeners we have. Huge part of our community. And you're here every single day. So I can't thank you enough, KG, for being such an important member of this group. And there's tons of you guys out there, right? We've got Julie, we've got Clinton, we've got so many people in our community who are like-minded and appreciative and kind of going on this journey with us. So welcome, right? That's all I can pretty much say. And in regards to this, we're going to talk about the Mark Yusko clip I've been breaking down, Mario. This is a shorter one. It's only about, we're not going to play 2 minutes. I'm only going to play 59 seconds. And of course, guys, we're going to keep it classy. That's what we do here on GEC. But if you like this content, be sure to smash that like button and celebrate XRP officially being over here inside the United States. This is Mark Yusko being fairly critical of Ripple. Let's break it down.
It's kind of like Circle, right? So Circle, the guys spun out of Goldman Sachs and they start this business and everybody says, oh, that's stupid. It'll never work. And it just quietly, and look, everyone knows I'm not a Brad Garlinghouse fan, and I probably shouldn't say that, but I'm just not. But because of the way he did what he did with XRP, yet it's up. I told you it was up. Like, great. It went from 220 to 265. Knock yourselves out. But he did start to do something interesting in the last year or so, where he took this highly inflated asset, okay, that he really created from nothing. It was just a ICO. And he owns a bunch of it. And started buying real businesses with an inflated currency. It's kind of what CoreWeave is doing with Core Scientific, right? CoreWeave was going to buy, it was with a Core Scientific was going to provide CoreWeave with a bunch of services, and they were going to have to pay them $10 billion a year. And they said, well, we'll just buy you for $8 billion. And that's a good thing. So you take your inflated stock and you buy an asset and you arbitrage the difference. And so Brad came in and said, all right, Circle, I'll pay you $8 billion. And Jeremy was like, ha, yeah, you wish. And Everybody's like, no, that's a big number. It was only worth a couple billion. And he's offering you 8. Like, no. And literally a week later, he doubled the bid to 16. And everybody's like, oh my God, maybe they should take it. And Jeremy's like, no. So then they go public and they go from 16 to 80. Okay. No, I'm sorry. From 10, they went public at 10 to 80. They went up 8 times in a matter of weeks. Now they've fallen back and they're only 50. But that's a lot bigger than 16.
So I don't get it, Mario, because he's criticizing Ripple for lowballing Circle on an offer to acquire their company. I said this is a smart business practice earlier on GMC. I would be frustrated if Ripple went right to Circle and go, we think you have a $50 billion company. We're going to give you $51 billion, right? No, you go to a car dealership. It says $39,000. You walk up to the dealer. You go, I got $26,000 cash. What can you do for me? And then he goes, no way. I can give you 32. And then you come back and you go, you know what? I got 31.5. How about that? That's kind of how this negotiation process works. So I'm not sure why he would be critical of how Ripple went about that, because obviously they didn't overvalue Circle. They undervalued Circle. And I think that's a smart business practice. Now, the second part of it, he talked about the ICO for XRP. There was never an ICO. Me and you covered it in great depth during yesterday's show as well. For anybody who didn't catch it, XRP is not only decentralized, it never had an ICO. That's from Brad. That's from David Schwartz. There was never an ICO, but you know what did have an ICO? Ethereum. So if they have a problem with the ICO, why are they advocates for the Ethereum ecosystem? You can't pick and choose these narratives. And I think there's a lot of flaws in some of these different opinions. Now, I do just want to give a massive thank you for the live donations, guys. Xavier ID, shout out to you, my friend, with the $20 donation. Always sharing the celebration emojis. He put 3 celebration emojis for the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit. So massive thank you, and it's greatly appreciated, the $19.99. XRP is under massive institutional adoption, said Seven Dennis. Okay, I just hit it one more time. Yusko likely buying, right? Maybe Yusko is buying, but we've known Yusko since August of 2022, guys, and he's been very consistent about his anti-XRP promotion here. Mario, I just wanted to get some of your thoughts, and then we'll begin to wrap it up for today.
Yeah, I do have an analysis or sort of a thought about that whole idea that Ripple tried to acquire Circle. And we did hear it from Brad on stage at XRP Las Vegas this year that he basically dismissed it. He said it was not true. It was just a rumor that was going around that Ripple did not, in fact, try to acquire Circle. Here's my thought process about literally news we just received today. They paid $200 million for this company. I don't think that Ripple, and obviously Brad Garlinghouse to come out and say that basically it was not true. I think that he would not put himself in a position where there would be room for somebody to come out and say, you're lying. You did, in fact, try to acquire Circle. Number one, that's kind of my analysis. I don't think that he would say something that would open the door to somebody to basically say you're lying. Plus, for this acquisition to come as soon as it did, I think that Ripple's eyes and attention are on something else, and it wasn't on Circle. Circle at that point had already pretty much said they wanted to go public. I think that the filing had already happened, and that they were pretty much set to go public. So I don't know. I don't think that was necessarily true. Obviously, with regards to how Mark kind of put it, look, at the end of the day, it's like you said, Abs, it was going to be a business deal. Why would Ripple, at the end of the day, Ripple with these acquisitions, they obviously still want to pay, a good price for whatever they're acquiring. And even though they've got like a tremendous amount of cash in the bank, I still think they're negotiating. They're not just going, you get $1 billion, you get $1 billion, everybody gets $1 billion. They're acquiring these companies for a good price, or at least trying to negotiate the price. So again, I don't know. I don't think that was a fair assessment. Obviously, Circle going public, it had a much better turnaround as if Ripple was to acquire them for that amount of money. So, good for Circle. I think that Ripple and what they're doing with XRP is far greater than what Circle is focused on. Circle, for right now, they just got this one focus, which is the stablecoin business. Ripple, let's not forget, It's the stablecoin business. It's the tokenization. It's the custody services. It's the cross-border liquidity for these different institutions that they work with around the world. I think that Ripple is far greater. If Circle did what they did in an IPO, I would anticipate Ripple with their business model to do far beyond what Circle has done. So again, I'll kind of just end it by saying, I think that's fake news. I don't think that Ripple, in fact, tried to acquire Circle, and, Circle going public, great outcome for them. I think the USDC is here to stay. I think it's a great product, and obviously it's got sort of a first mover's advantage as far as clarity and trust, and that trust factor. But I think the Ripple, with everything else that they're doing, it has far greater value than Circle alone. And so comparing one to the other is really not fair and not accurate.
And I want to give a huge shout out to the Maverick here. He said, $20 donation. Huge thank you to you, my friend. XRP is shipping up to Boston. Let's go. Great show. And that's a rhyme, my friends, even if you didn't mean for it to be. And Mario, you referenced it. First of all, big thank you for the $20 donation and the positivity, my friend. You are greatly appreciated. But Mario, you said it. Ripple's sitting on a ton of cash, 1.5 billion in cash, 4.5 billion in XRP on public addresses, meaning they could liquidate that at any time. Imagine the companies that Ripple is going to acquire with a balance sheet like this. And we saw it yesterday. We got the big announcement. Ripple acquired Rail for $200 million, and Rail handles 10% of all stablecoin-based payments today. Vet put out another big update here in regards to that on Twitter. I'm going to pull that up towards the end of today's episode as it's just loading in the background right now. The new Ripple acquisition Rail supports SEPA, Fedwire, ACH, and Swift payment rails, among a few others, as well as 4 layer 1s, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Tron. XRP will join that list, and a pair of XRP US dollar connections could make use of the supported payment rails above. So this acquisition is huge, Mario, because once again, it's one step closer to Ripple working with the largest companies on the planet. And think about how many big updates we had today. We had the executive order, number 1, 401ks opening up to crypto. We had executive order number 2, where banks were now going to be penalized for not working with crypto clients. We had the Ripple acquisition of Rail for $200 million. That was huge news. Then we had Chainlink announcing they were going to be launching the Chainlink Reserve, where they were going to be purchasing Chainlink and holding it in a treasury portfolio, kind of copying Ripple's business model. And then number 5, to top it all off, hopefully I'm not forgetting anything, the XRP versus, or I should say, the SEC versus Ripple case was officially dropped at about 5 p.m. Eastern time on August 7th. A major day for the history books, guys. And I want to give a huge shout out to Terry Anderson, the best owl in the entire live chat, with the $10 donation. Thank you, Abs and the team, for always going live with the amazing information. Higher, my friend. And I think that's not just a statement. That is a proclamation for XRP towards the back end of this year. Mario, we said it in 2021. It was going to $5. You heard it in 2017. It was going to $10. Well, here in 2025, there is a real possibility that we see a $10 XRP before the end of this year when all is said and done. And I'm a betting man. I'd be willing to bet that that is what occurs. But we got 23,400 live listeners here, guys. If you enjoyed this content, show us some love. Smash that like button. We are trading at $3.30. One's in chat if you think in the next half an hour we close above 330. Now, anything above 325, that is going to be bullish for the XRP price chart. But we did pass 1,000. I'm going to give you the live likes because I just want to say thank you to you guys. We're at 1,087 likes for the episode. Huge thank you to every single person who supports this channel. Somebody said Portnoy probably bought back in already. Now, a poor Portnoy. That's all I got to say. Paper hands Portnoy. We don't need him. King of the XRP community. And of course, I'm just making jokes, guys. But I want to give a huge thank you tomorrow. Big shout out to Johnny Krypto and a big shout out to Gonzo as well. We love you guys. We appreciate you all. Hopefully, if you enjoyed this stream, click on the link below the video, get into Merlin, and use the application. 30 days completely free. This is not something where we charge you. Use the app, create an exit plan, and set yourself up for success for the massive vault season that we have all been predicting. But we love you guys. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next one.